Thanks for journeying with me through these readings, and hopefully it's been profitable for you. It's been a joy for me to walk with you. You've almost made it to the end of Exodus. Keep up the good work. Today is February 11th. Our reading covers chapters 36 through 38 of Exodus. And they detail out the building and the crafting of all of the tabernacle and the items in the tabernacle. And these are created from free will offerings from the people of God and by artisans whom the Lord has gifted. And there's a thought here in verse number 2 of chapter 36 that I feel like is a good place for at least me to settle into today. There we find that the Lord is putting wisdom in the heart of his people for this work. He's giving them knowledge on how to do this. The gifts and the abilities that are required to build all of this, God gives to his people. So what he commands, he gives. And that seems to be his character and nature. You find the same sentiment in verse number 1 of this same chapter. But we also find these words, and this is where I kind of felt pricked today, that it uses this phrase, everyone whose heart was stirred. And this is a refrain from chapter 35, where we read similar words in verse 21. We read it in verse 22, in verse 26, and in verse 29. We also find the term Moses used, we mentioned already, free will offerings. And so what we're meant to catch here is that the work of God in all of this building of the tabernacle and the things that go in it is accomplished best through the willing hearts of his people. So God can and often does work apart from our wills. But most often he works within the created order of our wills. In other words, he has given us a will, and most often he chooses to work within that will. And some would even say that the work of his Spirit is to create in us only one will. Or to say it as others have said it, to where we will what God wills. Meaning that the work of God in us is moving us toward a place to where more and more we want most what he wants most. To want what he wants. Just think about that and chew on that today. That our hearts would begin to yearn for such. That he would give us such hearts, such willing hearts. And so today would be a good day to ask the Father who loves to give good gifts to his children to give us such a good gift of a willing heart. Father, stir our hearts today to want all that you want and only what you want. Blessings, fam.